welcome back to the World OTT Show right after the networking break. We hope you had a great time visiting the booths and interacting with each other. Well, my name is Bhavna Bhatia, and right now we're on our next session, which is on a path to the future of OTT in Asia. We're looking at talking about how OTT has evolved over the past 5 years, maximizing reach and saleable experiences with OTT, informative case studies on accelerating OTT growth with Brightcove. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're elated to be joined by our esteemed speaker, Greg Armshaw, Head of Media Asia, Brightcove, joining us. Well, Greg consults with the enterprises, helping them create strategies to build businesses with video. He has more than 20 years of experience in advertising, digital marketing, and has rich experience in building consumer offerings in the enterprise brands and media sector in Asia. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining us today live at the World OTT Show. How are you feeling right now?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, Greg. So with this, I'd now like to pass the stage and screen over to you.
Lovely, thank you. So thank you very much. Appreciate Trescon for inviting us here to present. I'm Greg Armshaw. I'm talking to you today from Singapore, and I'm very proud to present Brightcove. Hopefully you'll enjoy my predictions for the path to the future of OTT in Asia. But first, some of you may not know Brightcove, so I just want to share a little bit about us so that you know we've got credentials in the OTT space, and actually that we have some experience in this space, so that our predictions, etc., for the future sit well with you. So at Brightcove, we are proud to work with thousands of broadcasters, publishers, and digital-first platforms around the world, with many in Asia that some of them you can see here. We've seen them have success, and we've also seen some failures, which means that our partners in this region, we've seen plenty. There's definitely been plenty of lessons learned. So if we look as a pathway to the future, I propose that we should also look to what we've achieved so far. As my son's basketball coach says, that you need to keep monitoring where you were so you can see where you're going to. Now, there's this famous quote, and there's been multiple versions of this, but it's very, very true that we tend to overestimate what we can do in a few months or a year, and we definitely underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. So I'm using this quote and this kind of little bit of a look back to motivate and encourage you to set goals that are a little bit longer, but it's also to add weight to this story that actually over that 1 year period and a bit longer, you can achieve a lot. So if we're looking at the 10-year period, let's go back for the 5 years and see where we were. So conveniently, about that 5 years ago, there's a certain brand called Netflix launched Netflix Everywhere. And that was in Jan 2016 that they launched, where they launched hundreds of new countries, many of which in Asia, so these were the new markets that they were legally available. And who'd have thought at that time that just 5 years later, Disney would be announcing the closure of pay TV channels in many markets in the region to focus on OTT distribution. For context, Hotstar started streaming just the year before, for those of you in India and familiar with the Hotstar brand. But we've definitely seen in those 5 years, many local streamers launch, and in some cases either fold and shut down, or indeed get acquired. So without a doubt, this OTT space is certainly vibrant, and there are a lot of players looking to find their space. So while it's the brands that have grabbed the headlines, what else has happened in that 5 year period? And I remember actually about that time, 5 years ago, being asked to consult by Casbar, which is the organization now known as the Asian Video Industry Association. And many of the members at that time had grave concerns that there were key market fundamentals that were just not ready yet. That were internet access, speed of internet access, access to a device that could even play back video, and one of the biggest ones, which was the ability to pay online. So what's happened with these market fundamentals? I'm going to use a couple of markets to illustrate how far we've come. Those of you in India will probably remember at one point around 5 years ago, you had probably the most expensive mobile data in the world. And in that 5 years, it's actually dropped over 85%. And I believe India is one of the cheapest markets in the world for mobile data, dropping to around 11 rupees a gig, which is around 15 US cents. In Indonesia, which is the other market I'm using for examples, again, there's been an 85% drop in the cost of data, but it's still slightly more expensive for a gig in Indonesia at 42 US cents. But one of the things to notice is, and actually in India, internet speed has doubled. In Indonesia, average speed for mobile connectivity has tripled in that 5-year time. In India, the internet connected population is at least 624 million people now, which over that 5-year period is naturally an increase of 249 million internet users who use the internet for the very first time. The number of people now using the internet in India, is bigger than the total population of all but the top 2 countries in the world. In Indonesia, the internet connected population is at least 202 million people. That's an increase over doubling, with 104 new people who are now connected to the internet. And that's now Indonesia sees 73% of their population connected. Just this population, again, puts it as one of the eight most populous countries in the world, ahead of the total population of Russia, Mexico, and Japan. And for device use, well, we all know how ubiquitous the affordable smartphone has become in this region. So users having access to a device to consume video is actually no challenge at all. One of the big worries 5 years ago was whether people had the ability to pay for goods online. And now this data curated by Hootsuite and We Are Social shows that 548 million people last year in India bought goods via the internet. That's 87% of the total internet population. In Indonesia, that's 138 million people have bought goods online with an average spend of over $200. And that's 68% of the online population are actually buying goods online. So what we can see here is that there is the e-commerce market is booming. Clearly, just across those 2 markets, India and Indonesia, the market's reaching $70 billion a year. So, we can see this happening not just across these markets, but in many markets across Asia. So the market fundamentals are there. If you do want, to check the market for the data for your market, do go to Data Reportal website. As I say, brought to you by Hootsuite and We Are Social. So, the story is very, very similar across all Asian markets. But, pulling this back a little bit now into the video market, when you look at subscription video, you may think that it's actually only Netflix and Disney that have decent business. But in this data from Media Partners Asia, you can see that in many markets, local and regional players have been able to grab significant market share, both of subscriptions and revenue. So not only are netizens of Asia paying for goods and entertainment online, but the advertising market is growing too. As you can see, this gentleman, John Miscali, is from Group M, who's the APAC investment director for Group M, one of the biggest media buying agencies in the world. And he's acknowledging that, major media buying agencies now are well aware of the value proposition of premium video compared to the much less premium environment of social platforms. So we're seeing somewhat of a move to premium video of advertising budgets, but sadly, some of that growth has come at the cost of broadcast TV ad spend. So the best way for broadcasters to defend against that revenue erosion is actually to go to market digitally. So what does this market size look like? This data again is from Media Partners Asia and looks at the current market size in APAC, and this is excluding China, and it also excludes YouTube. So the total SVOD revenue is around $6.7 billion, and the total AVOD revenue is around $1.5 billion at the moment, with a significant over 10% CAGR across most of the region. So a significant market. Fundamentally, the customers have the ability to consume, the ability to pay. Advertisers are moving into the market, and a market has been built. So wow, we've achieved a lot in 5 years. And fundamentally, in startup circles, what you would say is there is now a product market fit for OTT television in Asia, and there's definitely a way to monetize. So what's the next 5 years going to bring? What I would encourage you to do from a mindset point of view is to forget about any rules that may constrain traditional broadcasters or traditional media companies. If you're a digital first organization, this is really easy. However, if you're still part of a traditional broadcaster, you will probably have to fight some of the inertia in your own organization to embrace some of the creative opportunities of digital. Because let me tell you, even the big players are breaking the rules. For example, you could do advertising when you don't officially do advertising.
Get ready for a brand new addition to the Netflix originals you know and love. Ice cream. Introducing Ben & Jerry's Netflix and Chilled.
So the naysayers amongst you may say that isn't advertising income, but there's real value for both companies in this tie-up. And it is an example, if you like, of the digital creativity that I'm asking you to lend to your strategy as you move forward. Another example, if you like, of rule breaking or thinking differently online is maybe to allow other companies to pay you as a platform owner to give away your service for free. Sound like a good idea? So you're probably familiar with this go-to-market in device or hardware partnerships. Some good examples here. Roku partnering with Hulu. Roku is a set-top box manufacturer, for those of you who don't know, and most of you will be familiar with Samsung and Netflix. Samsung and Netflix did a partnership where Netflix content and editorial was available on Samsung devices. You're probably even familiar with telco partnerships like this one from the USA, where OTT platform Reverie offered sponsored access to content which was paid for by Xfinity. So this is content that would usually be under an SVOD subscription, and they are paying for it through sponsorship. You probably haven't thought, though, about partnering with FMCG companies or quick service restaurants. But this is a real opportunity because actually in the promotional space, FMCG promotional budgets are much bigger than their advertising budgets. And we see more and more of these examples across our thousands of customers around the world. But one example I love is from India, where when ride-hailing first came to India, nobody really knew what ride-hailing was. And the local Uber equivalent, Ola as it called, were involved in the creation of episodic content series, Permanent Roommates, that put ride-hailing driver as one of the main characters in an episodic show. And whenever I speak to my team in India or anyone I meet, many people remember this series and think of it very fondly. So that's a brand partnership which doesn't compromise the editorial quality of a show. And making this easy, you'll see creative outlets when partnering with brand. And also what's interesting about this is you will also see an additional marketing benefit. My colleagues know I'm super geeky about this stuff, and they were taking pictures of that Netflix and chill when they saw the marketing investment on the side of chillers and freezers inside convenience stores, etc. The marketing benefit and the for platforms is immense for these kind of marketing partnerships. And when other brands start talking up your service, then you're benefiting from a significant endorsement. And if you can make it funny, like the Netflix Ben & Jerry's example, then all the better. So how can you create, no pun intended, brand new partnerships and brand new opportunities for your sponsorship partners? So currently, Brightcove, we're seeing this across the multiple areas, and clearly the creativity options are extremely wide, but there are three themes that we're definitely seeing. We're seeing more content business, in fact, even non-content business, traditional enterprises go to market with affordable white label technology that performs at scale. In most cases, if you're between 10,000 or 50,000 monthly active users, a turnkey solution will probably provide you with an ROI quicker than investing in bespoke. So we're definitely seeing a lot of activity in those areas. Also, if you're talking to any kind of media audience, it's odd a little bit to talk about linear channels, but without a doubt, linear channels are growing in the digital space, and especially led out of the United States. Fast or free advertising funded channels are increasingly offering sit-back experiences to digital consumers. And more now, especially from our inbound inquiries, we're seeing the success of those channels in the US and Europe driving interest to integrate with Asian platforms across the region. Also, we're seeing a lot of organizations, especially entrepreneurial ones, seize the opportunity to deliver successful one-off events, taking advantage of content rights as they become available, with some organizations seeking to build a series of live events to drive regular monthly active usage of their platforms. Now, key to this content, as turning this content into a business, is understanding who is paying. Now, I think it's quite clear when you're going D2C who your end user is when you're charging them. And at the very basic level, OTT services are about providing an audience with entertainment or education, but for which some kind of value is exchanged. And it might be through direct payment, or it could be with the end consumer paying attention to a brand story. So on this slide here, you can see, traditional advertising, also sponsorships. That's another Netflix example, and promotional examples that I was just talking about. But also third-party content partnerships are becoming more and more interesting in this space. Now, taking that a little bit deeper, what does that actually mean? This slide is actually an excerpt from supporting materials for a monetization workshop that Brightcove are offering. We use this to try and identify and understand the assets that a platform has so that they can offer it to their, if you like, their non-subscription customers. So their customer in that case are brands, yeah? So in exchange for content, somebody has to pay. And aside from the subscription model, that will often come from an organization other than the viewing customer. But you have to offer value. And those brand sponsors are looking for value in the form of assets like this. And that could be, at the simplest form, branded players and skins. Some of our customers in this region make 60% of their revenues from sponsorships like this versus in-stream advertising. One of the things that we're seeing a lot of at the moment and really significant growth is innovation in shopping experiences on and off platform and third-party distribution, this concept of fast channels. So to give you a little bit more of an example, I noticed on the Asian service out of Hong Kong and India, View, I noticed how they go to market. And they've done this here by offering a brand. See the central rail here? Lazada is a Southeast Asian e-commerce platform, and they're providing them with real estate to talk about their content in the context of the broader View go-to-market. Not on the slide, but you may also be aware that MediaCorp, which is a local broadcast channel, partnered again with Lazada for an omni-channel shopping event, celebrating one of their shopping events. So with brands, what brands love from an advertising point of view is pure reach, but also they love, and I've spent 15 years of my life in advertising agencies, is that they love unique experiences to engage with customers and engage and communicate their brand values. So historically, and going back to those 5 years ago, in the search for reach in Asia, it was the case that you would really be focusing on mobile. But now a growing number of consumers are using bigger screen devices, whether through casting or indeed loading apps on TVs or set-top boxes. So do be thinking about branching out beyond mobile and investing in making sure that you have a solution that services multiple devices. Great example of this is Mongol TV, proud Brightcove customer. Their addressable market of Mongolian speakers is only around 3.5 million people. And they're addressing that audience at home and overseas. They are maximizing their audience, leveraging the favorite platforms of the market that their customers are in. So outside of Mongolia, that's big screen apps, and their goal is definitely to maximize their audience. Reverie is a really small team, and they're targeting a relatively niche market. A relatively large but still niche market. And this team are maximizing reach across multiple apps and multiple distribution channels, making sure that they get as big a consumption of their brand and content as possible. Reverie have definitely maximized their audience across multiple apps and distribution channels. And they're predominantly AVOD, but they've also got a premium layer which allow them to satisfy their superfans, but also, as you saw earlier, allow them to give away that service as a promotion. I'm always sensitive about talking about linear streams, but the reality is that 24/7 linear streaming is now not just restricted to broadcast on traditional TV. Many streamers like a curated sit-back experience. The end audience wants to sit-back experience. They don't necessarily want to have to go through different titles to see what they want to watch. So we're seeing an increasing number of customers such as One Championship looking to maximize their library and create 24/7 channels supported by advertising. This gives a curated experience to the user and maximizes advertising inventory. So here you can see One Championship have created a Simulive experience using their VOD assets. We're seeing that there's a lot of interest in creating what would be a linear stream from the VOD assets which exist in these platforms. Looking at live events, there's a growing availability of live event content. Again, here it's the digital first organizations that are more likely to say, yeah, let's do it. Let's take advantage of this newly available content. And it's the broadcasters who still feel constrained by their own broadcast schedules. So have a digital first mentality. The reality is that sports rights have been going through a period of disruption. So key events can become available many times at the very last minute. So you can always give Brightcove a call to launch that sports event at the last minute. Arts experiences are likely to be hybrid live moving forward. Very few people have been going to the theaters over the last year or so, and they're going to be renegotiating the rights that they have with the set designers and the talent, etc. And also, the shared experience is something to be looking at. New habits have been formed during the pandemic, and it's highly likely that for certain events, audiences will want to have a shared experience with people online. Live commerce. I'm spending so many days and hours now talking about live commerce. But whatever assets you have, of any assets you have historically, there are definitely new opportunities. In the live commerce space, we're seeing significant engagement for live commerce. And this is really a situation where you've got influencers, formal or informal, sharing their point of view about products, whether it be from beauty, fashion, technology, cooking. Now, I'm curious, I'm sure the digital first guys are really excited. The broadcasters are going, wow, how do I manage to do live shopping within the constraints of an owned service? Think about being a rule breaker. One of the things that especially folks in the TV area tend to think is that everybody knows about what they're doing and everybody knows that those services are available. But in the age of fast moving consumer video, you need to ensure that you are marketing your content and your service. For example, on the FMCG side of things, Coca-Cola has a 98% global brand recognition, and they still advertise every single day. So make sure that you're maximizing your marketing opportunities. So even if your media brand is the most popular in your local market, you still need to let people know about your content. And yes, those market leaders, Netflix, spend 13% of their revenue on marketing. So look, if you're going to take anything from this presentation this way, is that to improve your bottom line, you need to think creatively and have fun. This is the best content in the world, best product in the world. Have some fun. So here's some top tips from me. Do empower your users with more options. That means, new devices, new content distribution locations. Give them the opportunity to discover and consume your content wherever their consumption moment may be. If you don't have a premium paid for experience, create one, even if you think that people haven't got the ability to buy, because without a doubt, your super fans will pay for it. You may be surprised at that. Finally, create value for your best advertisers with sponsorship and promotional opportunities. Don't just rely on money to come from heaven from a programmatic ad source. You can get much more revenue when you give real value to your advertisers. Look, I hope you found that useful. Please do connect with our Brightcove team at the virtual booth. We have team members in India and across Southeast Asia available now to chat to you. Alternatively, do search me up on LinkedIn. I'm the only Greg Armshaw, so you won't have a confusing search. Look, thank you very much for the time you've invested at the OTT show and with Brightcove today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Greg. What a wonderful presentation that was. And I'm sure after the networking session, a lot of our delegates could have learned a lot, and definitely they should head to the booth to understand it further and converse and connect with you on LinkedIn on the same. So thank you so much, Greg, for joining us at the World OTT Show.